You know that pride is a trap. It offers no way out, it imprisons. When someone underestimates you, there is a choice, a decision that echoes in every action. The other person ignores. You adapt. He makes empty promises. You still wait. The pattern repeats. Nothing changes, and the pain accumulates. Humility is not a virtue. It is a reflection of reality. When egocentrism gives way to clarity, something breaks. He feels the fall. The mask cracks. Pride shatters. The transformation is not kind. It is brutal. You realize that staying is not just an option. It is a conscious choice. The bond persists because you feed it, not through strength but through silent dependency. When someone truly sees, they act. When someone recognizes, they change. The cost of this game is high, and the hard truth is that nothing changes as long as there is acceptance. You don't need more words. You don't need more promises. You need to decide if you will continue in this cycle or if you will break the chains. And this breaking requires courage. The reality has already been presented. The choice to stay is an invisible prison. You wonder how you got here. The past echoes in your mind, each moment a piece of the puzzle that doesn't fit. Memories are knives, cutting the illusion of control you believe you have. It's easy to believe there is strength in not giving in. Looking the other way when empty promises accumulate, you build defenses, raise walls erected by the hopeful faith that something will change. The truth? These walls are just labyrinths that you yourself created. The reality is cruel. While you wait, others are moving. And pride tells you that this is a worthy choice, fighting an invisible enemy, waging solitary battles in the name of a love that only you see. They don't see what you see, or maybe they just don't care enough to see. With each passing day, you convince yourself that you are right in your position, but the cycle doesn't change. The other person does not repent. You are still there, at the mercy of doubt, insecurity, while life continues around you. Move on, they say, but you still hesitate, stuck in a cycle that no longer makes sense, and so time transforms into a trap. Every second lost is another victory for those who don't care. The price you pay is high. Once again, you ponder, is it worth it? You watch the other person move away. There is no regret, just a void that echoes in the walls of this worn-out relationship. There is a moment of clarity. You are not a supporting figure. You are a spectator of your own life, waiting for something that will never come. Attachment is not love. It is a burden, a weight you carry on your back, and with each step, you feel more tired. Meanwhile, the other person goes on indifferent, as if your presence were optional. And you ask yourself, who is really in control? It's a game without rules, and you continue to play. Pride tells you it's easier to stay. That leaving requires an effort you can't afford to invest. The truth is you have already spent too much, and the bill needs to be paid. Each moment that passes is an investment in something that no longer offers returns, and the courage you fear is the only way out. Fear paralyzes us, but inaction also has its consequences. The bond persists because you invest, and what do you receive? An echo that resonates as a constant reminder of your own fragility. In solitude, you begin to see more clearly. You realize that pride is a mirror reflecting your own fears. Dependence manifests in every unspoken word, in every ignored gesture. Closing your eyes does not change reality. The bond is not a shelter, it is a trap. Think about the relationships around you, those who stand out, who have the courage to move away from toxicity, not because they are better, but because they realize that staying is often a sign of weakness, a silent acceptance of pain. Transformation does not come from the outside, it sprouts from within. When you finally accept the harsh truth, something shifts. Pride shatters like glass, cutting through what once seemed solid and immutable. And at this moment of rupture, there is a real choice, a spark of freedom. Cut the ties, break the pattern. You don't need permission to decide what's best for you. The other person doesn't care, that's the biggest lesson. Sometimes the only answer you deserve is your own voice. And let it echo with the strength needed to break through. You're not just freeing yourself from someone, you're breaking free from a version of yourself that remained captive. It's hard, it's painful, but the truth is that staying in pain is much harder. And thus the opportunity arises. It's not a happy ending, it's a brutal acceptance of reality. There are no guarantees that everything will be perfect, but you have already realized that the cost of staying is much higher than the discomfort of leaving. The reality has already been presented, and now it is up to you to decide what to do with it. Pride is a trap, but loneliness turns into a deafening echo. In every corner of the mind, there is a whisper insisting that you have failed. The feeling of failure is almost palpable, a weight that accumulates on your back. You remember the moments when you tried, when you made sacrifices, when you believed that change would come, but the other person only looked on distantly, as if there were a film between you. And life continues to pass by. Social media shows happy faces, achievements, relationships without the shadows you carry. Each notification is a reminder of what should be and is not. You're stuck in this cycle, hammering the idea that it's your fault. I could have done more, you think, and so time flies while you fade away. You wonder if this is your reality or an illusion created by a fierce desire for validation. The expectation that someone would care, that they would notice your struggle and your pain did not materialize. The silence is deafening. You try to convince yourself that you are strong, that you can endure all of this, and pride blinds. Around you, other relationships flourish, while yours withers like a plant without water. With each passing day, doubt becomes a friend. It whispers that you are the problem, that you are not enough. The mirror reflects not just physical features, but invisible scars. And what was once love now transforms into a minefield of insecurities. You find yourself in a maze where all the exits seem closed, but there is a spark inside you, a worn-out yet persistent will. It is an impulse that cries out for freedom. Where is the courage? Where is the strength you always believed you had? It hides under layers of conformity, waiting for you to decide to remove them. And again the question arises, is it worth continuing to invest in something that offers no return? If you give yourself the chance, you might realize that the wound you carry is a living memory of what is past. It is not a sentence. It is a lesson that screams for attention. You observe the other, indifference etched in their eyes, and finally you realize that the lack of concern is a reflection of the contempt you accepted. The attachment transforms into a burden that grows heavier. The hours tick by. Time becomes the executioner that drags your hopes. With each passing day, you have a choice: to remain in the waiting room of what could have been, or to go out and face the uncertainty. You do not need more promises, you need action. And then, the pain begins to become unbearable, that feeling of being paralyzed, like a trapped animal. One day you wake up and decide to look within. The truth is brutal but necessary. You are not a victim. You are an accomplice in your own prison. You fueled this cycle, and now it needs to be ended. It's time to confront the raw and unvarnished reality. What do you really want? What makes you feel alive? The pride of staying or the freedom of leaving? Thus, the decision begins to form. Cut the ties. Break free from the dependence that suffocates you. In this painful moment you feel a rupture. An internal lament resounds. You realize that freedom is not an abstract concept, but a visceral choice. In the depths of your pain, determination arises. The idea that you can rewrite your own narrative becomes increasingly clear. The memories still hurt, but now they are fuel. You are not abandoning those you love, you are rescuing yourself. The ego screams, but the essence you forgot begins to emerge. Every unspoken word, every ignored gesture now brings new meaning. What once seemed a burden is now a step towards authenticity. And from this new perspective, you see that pride is just a mask. Behind it, there is you, vulnerable, but so powerful when you refuse to accept less than you deserve. You don't need external approval. Strength resides in every choice you make to free yourself. With each small act of rejection of what no longer serves, the trap starts to dismantle. You are not abandoning those you love, you are reinventing yourself. And in this process of self-discovery, the real transformation begins. Cutting the ties is not a sign of weakness, but a manifesto of strength. Pride may try to keep you trapped, but freedom is a choice only you can make. The reality has already been presented. Now the responsibility is yours. In the depth of your journey, amidst the echo of your decisions, a new understanding emerges. You begin to see that each step taken toward freedom is not a sign of weakness, but a fierce act of self-love. Pride tries to whisper that you must stay, that leaving everything behind is a defeat. But behind this echo, there is a stronger voice, the truth that calls to be heard. Each memory, an illustration of what could have been and what really was. You see yourself revisiting moments, not with nostalgia, but with clarity. The fragility of the relationship becomes evident. The other never had the power you granted them, the words that were not said, the gestures that were ignored. They accumulate like dust, covering the vision you had of a shared future. Now, looking at this reality, you realize that attachment was not love. It was a desire for validation, a desperate search for recognition in a space where it never existed. And you, lost in the maze of waiting, have become a prisoner of this illusory art. And then comes the decisive moment. The line between love and dependence becomes clearer. The touch that once brought comfort now transforms into a heavy chain. The connection that seemed unbreakable is actually made of threads, weakened by the lack of reciprocity. And thus, the desire to break free begins to overshadow the fear of being alone. You feel the urgency to clear your mental house, to remove the memories that serve only as anchors. This process is not easy, and the pain is palpable. Each time you remember the absent affection or the broken promises, a part of you wants to retreat, to repeat the old stories. But the strength within you no longer allows it. You discern that freedom is not in the absence of the other, but in the distance from the accumulated pain. And this realization transforms into action. Courage begins to take shape, perhaps not immediately as a roar, but rather as a persistent whisper. Step by step, you bid farewell not just to the other, but to the version of yourself that accepted less. And on this path of self-discovery, each gesture becomes a manifesto, a clear message to the universe that you are no longer willing to negotiate your worth. You begin to establish boundaries that once seemed impossible. With each no, you say, a new layer of protection rises. You realize that these boundaries are not barriers, but rather bridges that lead to your freedom. Days go by, and the echo of your inner voice grows louder. You allow yourself to feel the pain, but also the hope, a renewed hope. Not that the other will change, but that you finally recognize yourself. You understand that wanting something better for yourself is not selfish. This pursuit is healthy. It is a vital step toward authenticity. The silence that once weighed heavily now begins to dissipate. Interactions with the other become clearer, less laden with expectation. You learn to observe without absorbing, and thus, slowly, the strength you believed to be lost reveals itself. For each tear that fell, each moment of doubt, was a brick in the construction of your new reality. Gradually, pride transforms into gratitude. Gratitude for the lessons learned, for knowing that staying in an unbalanced relationship is not just a mistake, it is an opportunity for growth. From now on, each day is a new chance to shape your destiny. Life is not just about one relationship. It is made up of various experiences that deserve to be lived in their fullness. Magic happens when you decide that your worth does not depend on the other. You begin to surround yourself with people who reflect this new truth. Relationships that do not drain, but nourish. Friends who support your choices. The intimacy you are seeking begins to bloom in new connections where respect and equality are pillars, and so you start to visualize life as a vast open field. The horizon expands, and the light enters for the first time. What once seemed dark and oppressive transforms into a space of possibilities. Each day is a blank page, and now you hold the pen. Pride transforms into a fading memory, as freedom takes the place it always should have had. The trap dissolves, and you are finally ready to tread new paths. In this new beginning, you discover that you no longer need to defend yourself or seek approval. Reality has already been presented. Now, the only response needed is your own choice to live fully.